Hey guys, happy Friday night. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brandon and you're watching M.O.N.Comics. Big I guess my audio screwed up. Can everyone else hear me well? I'm gonna technical difficulties. How's this, guys? I don't know what's going on, but I'm like double echoing. This has never happened before. Give me 1 sec, gang. Chat, be patient. My guests, be patient. All right, that was really weird. Hopefully it's fixed now. Let's see if we have any echo. But hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brandon, and you're watching the Big Five Live, a monthly show where I bring 4 other content creators onto the channel and talk about comics. And this week, I have an awesome group of creators and 2 of them quite well, and 2 I'm just a big fan of. So I'm going to start bringing them out to the stage, and we'll go on from there. The first group I've got is JP and Rohan from the Absolute Game of Nerds. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having us on. Can you hear us, Brandon?
You're muted now.
You're on mute now, Brandon. I can see the little mute
icon. I had these problems, but now, okay, I think we're good. I think I figured it out. Okay, cool. Guys, tell the chat your channel, what you guys are about, and how you got together to create.
JP, do you want me to go or do you want to go?
Go ahead. You seem to be the vocal one of us.
Yeah, JP and I met kind of when we started collecting. We both started Instagram pages. JP was the first guy I met in this kind of comic online community. I didn't have any friends like in actual 3D that were into comics. So he and I started talking. I've since made other friends, but as JP and I progressed talking, it was actually a conversation over Detective Comics 31 that we finally just, because JP had been prodding me like, let's do a podcast together. It was on a conversation of Detective Comics 31 that he finally was like, this is what I want to talk about on a podcast. And I said, all right, let's do it. And it's been almost 2 years now. And the primary focus of our podcast has been kind of these interviews that we do weekly, where we just have like yourself has come on, Spro, who's coming on, was just on, or yeah, he was on before. And just kind of getting to know people that are associated with this hobby. We've had on people that have channels, collectors, anyone that is into this hobby, we're open and down to talk to. And it's just cool to hear people's stories. And that's just what we do once a week. We are, JP had an idea to try something different coming up, doing a little more debate style, because he and I do like to spar a little bit in the debate forum. So we'll probably play around with a little bit of that. But yeah, it's going strong, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I enjoy listening to you guys every week, and I've got to hang out with you guys in person, which was really fun. And you're criminally undervalued, underrated channel, undersubbed, because you guys get big names on there. You guys get the art reps for some huge artists and people within the community that are really some big names. So people need to check that out.
We had Jem Min on recently. We had Steve Borak. I mean, Nerdy Girl. We had.
No, we did not have. We didn't have Nerdy Girl.
You're Tessa.
So who else? Name some other big names. We had Boobs on. Remember whoever the artist of Boobs was?
Yes. We had like Reggie Collects and Vince from Comic Link, Vince from Comic Connect. Steve Borak is Comic Link. I will just say this: like when we first started, I was a little bit concerned about if we don't have a good sub count, that people won't want to come onto our show. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth. I literally just messaged people, and it is rare that someone A doesn't respond. Like almost everyone responds. And B, literally, I would say over 95% of the people I've ever talked to have always said yes. It's never been a function of like your channel's not big enough. And so, quite frankly, that's all that matters to me. It's really enjoyable to do, and we get to talk to really cool people, and I enjoy it every week.
That's how we met most of the people we hang out with now and talk with, is because of the channel.
Yeah,
so it's the sub count, it's the friends that we made and the acquaintances we know of and all that. So it's been worth it one way or the other. We did a close to 80 some episodes now.
Yeah, we just did 85 with No Good this week, which will drop this coming Monday. And it's cool. Like I think it's pretty crazy to me that JP and I literally almost recorded for 2 years before we actually met in person, which we did obviously all with the rest of y'all at Terrificon, which is, it's not something I would have thought is a thing that would happen in my life, but here we are, and it's been great.
Internet pen pals. So let me bring the other team out. The other team I'm going to bring out are Joshua from Spro's Comics and Bob. Now, how I found these guys, well, I found Joshua first. The algorithm, thankfully, pushed like a couple of his first videos to me. He was at a con. I think I'm pretty good on my memory. I think you picked up was an ASM 5. Was it the first Doom in Spider-Man?
Yeah,
that would be
that was
ASM
5. My first time going to TorpedoCon.
Yes. And he had great footage, great editing. And I was like, oh, like he appreciates owning this book. He's got the best presenting copy he could get. And I just started watching his content. I was like, oh, this guy's got it. And he's into the same books as I am. And liked the same Spider-Man I liked, and loves the Reeves Batman. I was like, all right, this guy is a great person to watch. He's very, very talented and charismatic with it. And then fast forward, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, I'm going to be doing a podcast called The Comic Room with his father-in-law, Bob, a.k.a. Mr. Longbox. So, guys, can you tell my chat how that came about?
You want to start, Joshua?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we do this full-time, like content creating full-time. I come from the gaming world, and I kind of did like the comic content as like a side like hobby, I guess. And then it surprised, like my first video did like 10K views, and I was like, oh snap, like there's people that actually want to watch this stuff. Like that's kind of like unheard of, at least from like the realm of YouTube that I come from, to like just kind of come out swinging like that. Mm-hmm. So kept it going, and Bob and I think it was like in 2021, 2022-ish. We knew that like each other liked comics, but we never like really like got into it. And so when we started like getting back into the hobby, it just like dominated our conversation. Like when we were hanging out with our wives, or anytime we were together, like it's all that we talked about. Like, and if you ask our wives, I mean, they like roll our eyes the second we get together, because it's just like nonstop talking. And so I had the idea when my channel was like had some good momentum going. I was like, I kind of like threw it at him, like, hey, like let's do a podcast. And he was like, yeah, like I'd be into it, but he's got a full-time job, and so he's not gonna kind of get it going forward. So I threw the idea out there. He sounded interested, and I was like, okay. So I kind of saved it for later. And then I moved recently. We moved into a bigger place where I could have my own office space. And so the first thing that came to my mind was like, okay, I'm going to build like half of this office out to be a podcasting studio. And so as soon as I told him that, he's just like, yeah, I mean, tell me when and where, and maybe it'll help take conversation off from when we're with family, but that still doesn't work that way. And yeah, that's kind of, we just kicked it off, and we just ramble. I mean, I think our first few episodes, like a couple hours, and even more hours of footage, like I just cut, and it's on my computer somewhere, but I had to leave it on the cutting room floor because these episodes would be forever. So
I love them long, and I think it's great. I listen to the audio, and then sometimes I'll go watch. Like I started watching the YouTube because I want to give you guys watch hours. And also your office setup is really great. You guys are just chilling in a chair. Your mics are perfect. Like everything is so symmetrical and pleasing to the eye. It's no surprise that you do this. Like this is your thing. And I was telling Bob backstage before you jumped on, I'm like, man, what I wouldn't give for my father-in-law to be interested in one comic.
Yeah, right.
He grew up he is a collector. He's a baseball. He's Yankees. And Spro, you're a Yankees fan, right?
Yeah.
Huge Yankees fan. So he's got all that memorabilia. He's got all sorts of, Yogi Berra, Mickey Mantle autographs, all that. He's got some impressive stuff. It's just like, he doesn't care about my first Black Panther, and the origin of Fin Fang Foom. But so I think it's really great that you guys came together like that and created that. And I've loved listening to it. And chat, it's going kind of quick. I'm just kind of putting everyone's comments up. I'm sorry I'm not acknowledging everyone, but JP has limited time tonight. And I just kind of wanted to get into it. What are you going to say, Rohan? I see you want to say. I was
going to say, I just want to add this quick story, and some of you may have heard it, but in addition to the interviews, we do unboxings or things like that, like all you've seen a lot of channels. And in the ones that I do about the cons, this is how I met Josh, is what I'm talking about here. I talked about how cons have these just absurd prices of comics. And I'm like, who is doing this? What is going on? I feel like I'm on drugs. And then one day the algorithm gives me Spro's video of him being like, are cons dead? Like, and he goes, but he actually like backed up his comments with like GPA evidence in the video. And I was just like, this guy, he and I are like this. And I like posted it. I reached out to him. I was like, I got to have you on this show. And then like we've talked since. So I just thought that was great.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic video because it was the truth. And then, that GPA data to back it up. And he had the video footage to show. And it's too bad because like we don't want cons to go away. But if that is the trend, that's what would happen. Now, Terrificon we went to was pretty good. It was pretty decently priced. I thought it was good. Heroes Con, which a lot of people are going to next year, I hear is the one to be at. But yeah, no, that video was great. I could see that the wheels turning in your head, Rohan. Certain cons are dead, Colossus. So yeah, guys, thank you all for coming on my show on a Friday night. Rohan reached out to me. He's like, that's the Paul and Tyson fight that night.
Well, I just know that we had talked about it before, so I knew you were into it as well.
Right, and then when it said it started at 8, I'm like, no way that thing is going to actually go off to 10. Netflix is going to does Netflix get credit for having viewers watching congruously? Like how does that work? What
it's definitely a live thing, so there's definitely something they're getting out of it for it being live for sure.
Right, because it used to be when it was on pay-per-view, you had to pay for it or the Nielsen rating,
Yeah.
Regardless, thank you guys for coming on. Thanks, chat, for hanging out. So I asked all my guests. So I was echoing before because I had my YouTube channel opened up. I was checking to make sure I had all the links right. That's why I was echoing. So I apologize for that technical difficulty. That was really great amateur stuff there. But guys, we're going to get into it. I'm going to let JP go. I asked my guests to bring 5 books. They can be recent pickups. They can be favorite books from their collection, or they can be a combination of both. It's just to get the conversation going and seeing what people are into and showing the community what these guys are into. And we all want to show off some books and hang out on a Friday and talk comics with different people. So this is the way I was doing it. So I'm going to make JP, since you're first and you got to go. What did you bring to show tonight, JP?
Well, this will be no surprise to anybody.
How come it's not a Mega Man 3, JP?
I know. I'm kind of sad. Oh, it's behind you.
There it is, baby.
What is it about Lobo? What is it about Lobo for you, JP? Why do you tell me why you love Lobo?
Because he's hot. Because I saw this cover on a poster at the comic store called Phantom of the Attic back in Pittsburgh, and I was like, that dude looks like a badass. That's gonna be a cool comic. That was the heyday of the X-Men and Wolverine and all that, and so. It was a hard book to find because DC wasn't as prominent except for Superman and Batman. So finding that Lobo was almost, I never found that book in those times looking, nor did I ever find the Omega Man 3. Because I guess I kind of moved myself over more to McFarlane and whatnot, but it wasn't a prominent book that you could easily find like you could an X-Men book. So when I got back into collecting, I found the Omega Man 3 at a flea market for $2 and end up selling it to somebody, and then I end up buying this 9.8 behind me just because I have faith. I believe in myself that when Jason Momoa becomes Lobo, it will take off through the roof. So that's my
Okay.
prediction.
Here's the question: what are we going to see first, Jason Momoa as Lobo, or what's his name as Blade?
Marshall Ali.
Marshall Ali. Which one are we going to see
Lobo.
first? At this rate.
Yeah.
You'll see Lobo books.
Well, I'm glad you brought your Lobo. I know you
But
couldn't
that was
get
just
through.
a joking one. But I brought this one for you. So this is the McFarlane Crow.
Wow.
And this one is signed by James O'Barr. And this is one I plan to get signed by McFarlane when I get a chance.
Wait,
So
McFarlane drew Crow?
Yeah, this is the Crow #1 by McFarlane.
He must have been advised by O'Barr, because I know Bleecker from Bleecker Street Comics brought this sick Crow cover book to a con in Canada, and he brought it to James O'Barr to sign, and he said, "I'm not signing that. They didn't ask my permission. They didn't ask, any, like, he was like flat out." And I felt bad. Like, that would be my luck to bring a book to a creator that, that was like a bootleg. Yeah. So McFarlane must have got permission, I guess, from the estate or O'Barr, or, he had to have if O'Barr would sign that.
I think they named him in here. So O'Barr's named in here. So it was just McFarlane did the cover. O'Barr did sign this. It's a real signature. It's not like one that came on the book itself, like printing. So I'm hoping I can get it PSA or JSA certified and then get McFarlane to sign and have both of them on it. So that'd be pretty cool. So, and we know, we love the Crow. The movie that just came out didn't really come out. Forget about it. Just remember the original one.
You almost made me lose my coffee.
Did you actually see it, JP? Did you actually see it?
I'm waiting for it. I got this streaming service, and I'm hopefully going to be able to watch it on that. So I'm going to check it out in secrecy.
Did you watch it, Brandon? I know you're a big Crow guy.
None of us did.
Nobody did. Wow.
We had a big, show about it, and then no one saw the damn movie when it came out. So
they just should have used there's different iterations of the Crow and different reasons for the Crow sending the soul back. They shouldn't have called it Eric and Shelley. They just should have called it 2 other iterations, and everyone would have been fine. It's too hard for people to separate those 2 names from Brandon Lee's legacy. It's just too hard. It's not going to happen. So they were DOA, before it even came out. But I digress.
Plus his look wasn't the right look. His look wasn't the right look. He didn't look like
it was the Joker. It was Jared Leto's Joker.
Yep. So this other book I got, now I had this same book in a 9/8 signature series from Mr. McFarlane, signed it for me, and I recently sold it, and I had to get one to replace it, and I thought this one was probably just as cool. In my opinion, it is the ASM 328. This is a Mark Jewelers. So it's a 9.4. I don't think I can bump it much higher than a 9.6, but I want to get this one signed by McFarlane as well. I don't think you find these in a Mark Jewelers. This is for Dan. I know Dan's watching. He loves his Mark Jewelers. So there you go, buddy.
The Nut Punch. Does it have a star on it? I know some Mark Jewelers have stars on it, but is that across? Because I don't collect Mark Jewelers. I don't collect newsstands. Like,
where would the star be at?
Sometimes when they're from bases, they have a star stamp.
I think
somewhere
usually,
on them.
I think it's usually like in the corner box or over the barcode.
Right.
There's nothing in the barcode, but
I wonder if that's typically with older Mark Jeweler books and not so much Copper Age, Rohan.
I have no idea, but I've seen it, but I don't know the specifics behind it.
Dan's already firing off a group text about it somewhere.
Yeah.
So let's see. Then we're going to go Silver Age now. Then we're going to move to Golden Age. So this is a recent pickup. ASM 14.
God, that's what I want.
So I had to trade a Batman Two-Face, the Silver Age Two-Face for this, plus some cash to get it. So it's probably a 1.5, maybe a 2.0, but I'll take it.
Can you show that again for a 1.5? I mean, everyone's telling you made out on that. When you're trading modern for Silver Age keys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great trade for that one. That you did.
Looks great from my house, man. I'd love to have the first thing.
Got some damage along the corner there's and whatnot against the spine, but I mean, it's one of those things that I said this on one of our recent shows that I have like I think it's called 4.0 Mylar, and it's almost like a razor. When you go to put an old Golden Age or Silver Age book that's beat, when you slide it in there, it just tears them like a razor. So Mylar is almost not a friend of these books. You're better off with the top loaders to keep them nice, because they just get ripped to pieces. So, but anyway, so I'm happy to have that one. I don't necessarily think I will do a 1 to 100 Spider-Man run, Amazing Spider-Man run, but I'm definitely got about a quarter of them so far, and obviously the most expensive ones I don't have yet, and I'm kind of contemplating about that. But you know, as many ASM sub 100 I can get, I'll take. So
do it.
So Spidey. I mean, I know Fantastic Four is pricey because I've been playing with it, but you know, as far as like the lower issues, Spidey's got to be the most expensive, right, guys?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Especially like 1 to 20. I mean, almost like 15 of those 20 issues are first appearances. Like it's
Yeah, they feel like they're all keys. Every other book is a key.
You know? Like especially like when you look on Key Collector, it's like almost like 1 to 50. Almost every one is a key.
Yeah. When I started collecting, my friend and I kind of decided what book are we going to focus on, and I chose Fantastic Four. Could have chosen Spider-Man, but I didn't because I didn't like the trade dress. That's seriously the reason why. I mean, I was 13 years old, so I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I just didn't like it. Didn't like the way
I don't like it either.
You know, I just didn't like it. So I went with FF, and I won't say I regret it. I mean, I love the FF, but from an investor standpoint, that was a huge mistake because this was 1980, 1981. Books were still affordable. Forget about it now. Like, well, JP, you got a good jump on it, but I mean, yeah, it's so much more expensive. There's not a lot that aren't keys in that. So
yeah, I would agree with that comment. Definitely most expensive, then FF, then X-Men.
Nice. And you got one more book, JP, or was that it?
I actually got 3 more, but I'll do them quickly. Like I said, all Golden Age here. So this is one we got at Terrificon.
Oh,
nice.
Woo.
Saint #1, nice.
Man,
I remember you were so pumped to pick that up.
Yeah, I had to haggle pretty good with that guy to get it, and I was excited to have it because I know it's one of those blonde, red dress, damsel in distress, Golden Age books that you don't see very often. So I'm glad to have it. I picked up another one recently, a Fight Comics, like an Army one that has a similar type of look to it. But that's probably my favorite. And then this one, another Golden Age, the Atomic Bomb, Superman 61.
When'd you get that?
About a month ago, I think.
I didn't know that. That's beautiful for a 2.0.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet cover. I think it's, well, I mean, there's plenty of the great Superman covers, the yellow covers, the war covers, but there's so many of these atomic covers, and I just think that was a cool one where he's, you know, they're all covering the radiation suits and it's blowing up and he's in it, you know, kind of like in, I think it was Superman 3, maybe it's 2 or 3, wherever he had to fix the power plant or something that was going to blow up, kind of similar to that from the movie.
3.
Yeah.
What year is that Superman from?
This is my oldest comic I have. This is 1943.
Wow.
So it's Action Comics 61. And someone must have wrote up in the A there 1943, whoever owned it. So, and last but not least, another Golden Age, another Good Girl. This one I found at an antique store with a few other Schomburg cover, but I love this one. I was so happy to find it. It isn't the Phantom Lady 21, but I'll take this one. Any Phantom Lady from the Golden Age is a good find, so I'll definitely take that. So
those are great books. No Jack Kirby.
The worst artist in the history of Marvel.
Well, it was nice having JP on for a while tonight. That was a really good time. Don't ever disrespect the king on this channel.
I have toilet paper with Jack Kirby's drawings on it.
With you.
Okay, Spro said he doesn't disagree, but he doesn't agree.
I don't fully agree, but Kirby's got some iconic stuff out there, but I think
you got to
some of it is a little.
But here's the thing with Kirby, right? You can't deny the amount of volume that man did, especially in the Silver Age, is unmatched.
For sure, yeah. And that's why, like, I'll give him his flowers because they're due. Like, what he did for comics, I mean, I don't know that anybody else could have done it. Like, so I'll give him that. But some of this stuff is just okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I had a drawing book or an artist book, whatever, like How to Draw Marvel, and it was Kirby, Buscema, and Ramita were in there, and I just totally flipped through the Kirby pages because I didn't want to try to draw like him. I went straight to Bashima and Ramita and those guys because that's what I went for. So I'm nothing against them. It's iconic, but it's not my cup of tea.
I just like breaking your balls, JP. Great books, JP. Thanks for showing me some stuff. I'm offended you didn't tell me you got that Superman book. That's amazing. That's a great book. Rohan, I know you got some bangers. Rohan, if you're not familiar, chat with Rohan. Rohan is curating the Dream Collection over time. In time, it will be his.
Yes, I am not a volume collector. As I've told people, my collection is less than 40 books. It's funny you said 5 books. You know, sometimes you say most recent. I think I've bought 5, maybe 6 books this entire year. So, but 4 out of the 5 I'm going to show JP are Kirby. How about that?
Hey,
that's why I'm getting off at 8:30.
Wait,
yeah.
Can I just say, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
For what like Rohan's collection and like what he's doing, like I just have to admire him for his patience and self-control. Like that is something that just has to be praised in this hobby, because to have patience and self-control to say no to all the beautiful books that are out there and to save money for these grails that he's acquiring.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's realistically what all of us want to do, but we don't have the patience or the self-control to do it. And the fact that he's doing it is incredible.
Preach, bro.
I appreciate
You're
that.
here.
He's rubbed off on me a bit. He has helped me curtail and been like, well, if you save this much, then you can have this book by the end of 2 months. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And it would mean
I think the thing I think that I want people to take away from that is that too often I hear people say like, oh, I can't afford books like that. Now, obviously, if we're talking about Batman 1 or something like that, I understand it. But for a lot of the cases, like it's a priority thing, right? Like I get it. Like it's fun to get stuff often. And so it's often you don't realize how much that adds up over time. And once you can realize that and think, or if you want to realize that, I should say, if you want to go for something like this, like it is doable. You just have to understand, like you go months between getting books for sure. So
But I need that dopamine hit.
yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get it.
I mean, that's something, maybe collecting new books because they're cheaper and then save for the bigger books like you're doing. So just get that dopamine rush.
Yeah. All right. So first book was actually the first book I got this year. It is a Kirby book and it is X-Men 4. I was talking to Joshua about this. He said Scarlet Witch is one of his favorite characters. I think in your top 3, you're saying, so this is one of your next ideal purchases, I think, coming forward. Yeah, and as you'll notice, kind of Brandon, like you were saying with JP's books, also another way that I do is I'm all about the low grade but presents nicely. As you'll see in all these books that I have to come. I don't need, to be perfectly honest, like even if I could afford like higher grade, like it wouldn't honestly get me that much more excited than the ones I have. And that's perfectly like I just love the idea of having the piece of history as long as it's nice.
We've talked. Great. That's me, man. Our this whole panel tonight, I think, feels that way, and I think that's a great way to approach this hobby. So, what do you think that book is estimated at? It was a grade when you bought it, Rohan.
This was estimated 2.5.
Looks awesome, man. There's no big tears out of it or anything.
No big tears. The red's nice. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm jumping on that.
This one was online, or was this one at a con?
Everything is Instagram. Everything is Instagram. Yeah. Next one. This is so most of the stuff I collect is first appearances. However, this one is not, but it's 2 of my favorite characters. It's my second favorite Kirby cover. Bob, I know Joshua was telling me this is one you're looking for coming up real soon. Fantastic 412. Yeah. I absolutely adore this book. Growing up all through my life, in my opinion, and debate me if you want, Hulk versus Thing is the 1v1 battle in Marvel history. And this is where it all starts, hence why this book is important to me. And like I said, this is my second favorite Jack Kirby cover of all time behind Fantastic Four 49. Love it.
For if you're not going to have those 2 fighting, the way they're presented on that cover is still awesome.
Yeah.
Like, if they're not going to be battling, that's still a sweet looking cover.
Yeah.
That's one of my side quests, is to get all the Thing versus Fantastic Four books.
Yeah.
And I've gotten most of the major ones, but not the first one. That's the one that I'm still holding out for.
Yeah. Josh says you're being picky about it too, which I get. So yeah.
Yeah. I just want it to look nice. It doesn't have to be. I can't afford like a super high grade. I just want to be happy with it because I'm only going to buy it once.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. All right. So next up, this is I'm not a huge. I know Brandon loves the spooky season and the horror stuff. I honestly am not the biggest horror guy, so don't shoot me here. However, this book, in my opinion, is a top 10 all-time cover, and like I just love it so much. There's no way I could not pick up this book, and it's House of Secrets 92.
Nice.
So there's a little.
Yeah, that being modeled after Louise Simonson.
Yeah,
and the importance of entering Swamp Thing. Not the Swamp Thing we know, but a swamp. The start of it is. What is that, 3.5?
Yeah, 3.5. Again, I think this one looks pretty damn good for a 3.5. So, yeah.
Spro just got a 6.0 back that looks real good.
Showed it to me. I was like, damn.
I know. Spro. Come on,
Yeah.
man. Hook us up, brother. Come on now.
So then back to the Kirby books. The most recent book I picked up, and this has now been 3 months, I think, since I got it. But another Fantastic Four book, FF number 5, first Doctor Doom. I know Spro also just got one. His is a 2. So this is a 1.5. Again, I think this looks great. The biggest reason it's a 1.5 is both the cover and the centerfold are detached, and I could not care less. I literally could not care less.
Yeah.
Great way to get into a big book. That's how I got my Daredevil 1 detached cover.
Both this and the next book I'm going to show are both 1.5s. And I have legitimately seen several 3.0s and 4.0s that don't look, in my opinion, as good as this. But
and you were targeting that book for a while, weren't you, Rohan?
Yeah,
I mean, you were hunting that for months.
I am very books that I don't. It's a rare thing that I pick up anything spur of the moment. Like I know, or I have planned like the next handful of books that I'm going to get in the order I'm going to get them in. So, so when it was time to go, I was kind of sniper shot in on those. And then this book, the next one, which is what I made my number one priority of the year when I started the year, X-Men 1. Yeah, again, 1.5.
Wow.
So pretty pumped. It's been a good year for me.
When you say you only have 40 books, when you pull out 5 of those 40 books, and they're ones that are like on so many people's lists, it just goes to show what that patience can do. And I'm like you, I've started to be more like you in saving for bigger books, but the clutter, I can't have clutter. I'm in a corner of my wife's office that she so graciously shares with me. So space is always an enemy. So, having that, not a ton of clutter, but it's hard not to buy comics sometimes in live sales.
I totally get it. Yeah, I don't have a comic room yet either. Hopefully that is something I have one day.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Rohan. Was that 5? Did I count that right?
That was 5.
Okay,
yep.
yeah. That was fantastic. JP, thanks for still hanging out. I know you're probably looking at the clock. If you got to go, I won't be offended. You're just going to miss the good stuff. But why don't we do Bob?
All right. I'll start out with
now, Bob, when did you start collecting for the chat? What year?
I started collecting in 1980, 81. And the reason I started was my best friend and I got into a fight, not a fist fight, just, petty fight. And we spent the whole summer not being friends. And so I hung out with a different guy, and my friend Chris hung out with someone else. And then when we finally got over whatever it was about, he had picked up this new hobby from this other guy of collecting comic books. So he introduced me to it. And then we just kind of fell in love with it, and it went from there. And so I collected when it wasn't cool, man. I mean, my friend and I would ride our bikes to the convenience store right by our middle school, and we'd be thumbing through the spinner racks. And then when the little bell would ring because somebody was coming in the store, we'd take a peek to make sure it wasn't one of the girls from the school. Because if it was, we had to pretend like that's not what we were doing. We'd slide on over to like the candy rack because it wasn't cool at all. Like it's now cool to be a nerd or whatever we call it, right? It wasn't back then at all.
I still faced nerd persecution through the 80s and 90s, though, because I remember I had a girlfriend. I was deep into Magic the Gathering in 90s, and I was terrified to tell her that I played. And I did after like a month. She's like, I don't care. What is that? And I was like, I guess it's not as big as some of us think.
You're lucky she didn't know.
When I was in college, my comic collection stayed at home at my parents' house. And that was like, you had to get really into my inner circle before you found out about that. And if you were a girl, you never found out, It's just how it went.
Fantastic.
Speaking of my friends, I like I said, I decided to chase Fantastic Four, and I knew early on, even back then, I wasn't going to get Fantastic Four 1 because it was $2,000 back then, and I was spending paper route money, so I got what I could when I could. I picked up an FF49 for $13, so that was pretty sweet. Back you could get this stuff back then, but the book that I really wanted was there was a comic shop in the neighborhood that had a Fantastic Four annual one. So like, well, there's a chance to get an issue number 1, but it was $40 and I didn't have it. And then, I did some work for my dad or whatever. I somehow scraped enough money to go. So I get a ride there. I go there and it's gone. And I was just so devastated. Right. And my birthday was around the corner. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll get some more money and I'll figure something out. And I get a present from my friends, and this is what it was. This book right here.
Wow.
It was gone from
8-0.
It was not at the comic book store because they had bought it for me. And I just, and my friend, it was my friend Chris who got me into it. He even built like this cool cage for the book, like a booklet. And so that's why it stayed in this great condition all these years. And I finally got a slab this year. And so I was ecstatic that it came back in 8.0, but I wouldn't care if this was a 1.0. Like, this book is so special to me because I'm still friends with those guys. And he was the best man at my wedding. But anyway, love this book, love the colors, a really early Spider-Man appearance and early Doom appearance that people forget about, but gorgeous book. So one of my personal favorites that's been with me almost from the beginning. So that's
Chat, take care of your comics, and that can be you someday. Sending in 8.0. That's impressive. Later, JP.
Later, JP.
See you, JP.
Go Steelers.
Second one is this one that we've already seen.
Yeah.
And I try to get the glare out of here. But what I like about this one, especially, it's a 3.0. It's pretty beat. It's got a detached staple up here. The staples are kind of rusty, but it's signed by Bernie Wrightson.
Oh, that's great.
Right there. And
no idea you had that.
And so, when you get a book that's signed, you really don't care about the condition. It's like, hey man, Bernie's a legend and he signed it. So, again, this is one that I can say this about any one of my books. I'm not selling it because it means something to me. Josh was laughing because he hears me say this about every single book.
I hear you say it on the podcast.
But I'm not selling this one,
But I mean, I've never even seen one of these signed by Bernie Wrightson.
I've never seen one signed by Bernie. I know they're out there probably, but I've never seen that one.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, right? He signed it in. I had the seller told me the date, or I signed it in the Baltimore Convention, like 2002 or something like that. So I've got it written down somewhere when it was, but really cool book. I got it raw, and then when it got slabbed, this is before CGC started doing their authentic JSA stuff. So, but I'm fine with CBCS. I don't have no problem with CBCS at all. In fact, I have less problems with CBCS these days. All right. Up next is I'm going into the golden age now. And this one's kind of random. This is what happens, Rohan. I'm not like you. I'm very much an impulse and emotional buyer. And, Josh will say, hey, we're going to this convention. What are you looking for? And sometimes I have a list, and sometimes it's like, I'm going to see how the spirit moves me on this one. Whatever I see that I'm going to let myself kind of be guided by impulse. And this is one of those things with the claim sale. And it's a recent purchase, Green Mask from 1945, winter 1945, Fox publication. So this is only around for 17 issues, but I always liked the cover whenever I saw it, like in a magazine or like Price Guide, or when it was featured somewhere. I thought it was a cool cover. But what really drew me to it was the grade for 1945, 7.5 white pages, and I just thought, I'm not a grade snob at all, but I love things that are unique and one of a kind. And when you're getting into a book from 1945, if you got white pages, that just makes it one of a kind, in a way. So pretty cool cover though, right? And maybe someday the green mask will become popular.
Does it have who the artist was on that, Bub?
Yeah. Hang on. Jack Fisk and Hal George Art. So one of those two did the cover.
I can't agree more, man. When you're talking golden age, dude, to see 7.5 white
There's
pages.
something disturbing about his face. I'm not sure what it is, but it kind of freaks me out. I don't know what, right? It's something's
Hi.
Bob, I was gonna say, you said you get spontaneous sometimes. I was like, your guys' show opens up with recent pickups, so you guys already put the pressure on yourself to have something new.
Well, that's by design. That's by design. Does that mean we get a tax write-off? Or probably not. But at least it keeps us shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on to us, Rohan. All right, and then this one here is one Joshua loves to tease me about, and it's 4-color issue 74, the first appearance of this character here, little Lulu.
I've heard you talk about it on that podcast quite extensively. Now, is that not really her first appearance though? Like, what, didn't she appear somewhere else first?
I'm so glad you asked, because I brought this too. This book here is 1945. This magazine is 1935. The Saturday Evening Post, man. We're talking like who's that famous artist who did all the covers for Saturday?
Norman Rockwell.
Yeah, it's Norman Rockwell stuff. This isn't Rockwell, but anyway, inside of this magazine is a 1-panel black and white sketch of little Lulu, her very first appearance in this magazine. So I picked this up on eBay for like, I don't know, $45 this year. So, and I'm going to keep buying it as long as I can find it, because I feel like if this ever gets, if Little Lulu is still popular, she ran all the way until 1982. She was always published, and she had like in the early 2000s or 90s, she had a animation series come out. So she's still around and she's still popular. And this is her first appearance, and it's not that expensive. I mean, I bought this in a 4.0 on eBay for like $500. But I saved up. I had like eBay gift cards, that rewards you get from your credit card spending. So I got a couple $100 taken off. And there's not a lot of these on the census. And it's a really nice looking 4.0. I'm not really sure why. And the back, check out the back, man. I mean, it's got it. They really did it up back in the day. They didn't skimp. You got a lot, So I like little Lulu because both my daughters looked like her when they were little. So that's part of it. So it's just a special book for me. And yeah, gorgeous book, beautiful, iconic. So
that's great blue too for a book that old,
right? Yeah.
And then the last one is I love books that are tied to the culture or the history of the time they came out. I'm always into that, and that could be anything. It could be something with hippies in a dune buggy from the 1970s, or it could or it could be the Mod Squad in the 60s. But this book here, it's beat up. But it's a Schomburg cover. It's conserved, so it's like a restored, but it's all new comics, issue 11, and the date on that, is 1945, spring of 45. So it's a World War II issue, and you just see this iconic, the Marines are battling the Japanese on some island, and they're it's heavily caricatured, but on both sides, both the American and the Japanese side. It's just like a slice of history. Beautiful cover, that really gorgeous yellow. The beat up part of it's really the back. Like the back is probably why
that's got the best part. That's the best. That's where it's at. That's all about.
Yeah. Does anybody care what the back of a comic book looks like? Like really, I don't care. I don't
care all the time. Yeah.
Like you guys were saying, if the interior is detached or there's a detached staple, Joshua and I have talked about this. If you're going to put in a slab, who cares? Like it doesn't matter. So, and like Rohan, like you said, just piece of history, right?
Yeah.
Just a piece of history.
I battled one. I really want one Schomburg cover because his covers tell a story, right? It's like a whole movie. And there was one on At Last Comics on Instagram, and I was battling with getting it, and I finally moved some books and saved up, and I reached out and I was like, hey, is this available? It was like a great torture bondage cover. And he's like, yeah, it is. Let me just reach out because it's consigned. And then he got back to me. He's like, oh, we actually already sold it. And I was like, shoot,
Did you die a little? It hurts, right? Because you've made the purchase and you're already counting on the book.
It was a restored, 4.0 CGC purple label, but I think it was like $700. And it was a great cover. I mean, to get it on a Schomburg, I knew it would probably have to be a conserved book. and they just tell a story. So I'm glad you showed that, because that's just amazing, Bob.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Do you have any more Schomburg pieces, or is that your only Schomburg
That's
piece?
the only one. I used to have Human Torch 23 I bought it, when my wife and I were still dating. It was like my coming out party I brought her to a convention with me. That was like the final, is she marriage material? Will she go to a con with me?
Watch this. I'm going to spend $500 on a comic.
That's right. But we're still married. It's been 30 years, so it worked. But there's this Human Torch 23, and it's perfect condition, but the tiny, like a quarter inch of the lower right corner is missing. And so I bought it for $125. I have no idea what it would grade at now, because I bought this thing in like 92, 91. I sold it for like $600 in the 2000s. So I mean, I know I have no idea what it'd be worth, but a lot. But I'm still looking for it. I would like to buy it back, and if I ever see it, I'll know, because it has that very telltale missing lower right corner. But it was perfect otherwise. It was beautiful, but that's okay. Like I said, you know, books come and go from your collection, but I'm still always in the market for another Schomburg cover. Yeah, because but this was a robot cover with the torch on it and Submariner.
That sounds like it sounds like it hit all the notes there. And,
yeah.
But hey, you got a Schomburg cover.
I got a Schomburg. I'm happy.
All right, Joshua, you up? You ready to go?
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what you picked, man.
All right, so I literally, if you just saw me step away, I literally just pulled this out the press, and I wasn't going to show this one, so I have 6 books. So sorry for breaking the rules, but
no, yeah, I always get the rules bad. This is lax.
all the Golden Age tonight, and we haven't seen this artist yet. And I just picked this book up last week, and this is Jungle 19. This is an LB Cole bondage cover.
Oh, JP would love that.
So oh man, he's gonna be pissed.
Fresh off the press. So yeah, I got somebody reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, I'm trying to move this." So I was like, "I mean, all right, yeah, give you this much for it." And so it'll be up on the website soon. So
I was gonna say, if any of these books are for sale, please let me know, because
yeah, so, JP would be all over that one.
Yeah, so literally fresh off the press. Like I pulled it off the press 2 minutes ago, so I'll have to give it a grade.
Can I just interject I just want to interject for the chat so that people don't drop off before the end of the stream. But Joshua has just recently become a dealer too, and I'll let him do his spiel at the end of the show. But he does have a website that is linked in the description of this video. So please go, because you'll be dealing with someone that really cares about the hobby and is going to be fair with you. So check that out. But go on, Spro. Sorry.
Thank you, man. Yeah, library. That's it. I didn't realize that until you said that. The Jungle trade dress is super cool. It's bamboo. I didn't realize
bamboo.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is super.
Love
cool.
that book. Love that book.
So, okay. So this first book is another book that I just bought off a collection. So, yeah, as Mon just mentioned, I'm just kind of taking steps into becoming a dealer. It just felt like the next right step for like my journey in comics. And so the same day that I signed the lease to my office space, I got hit up about buying an insane collection, like ASM 16 through like 120, FF 20 through like 115. This dude was just a Silver Age run collector. Like, and I think Bob said he must have been a time traveler, because it's insane that he was just buying all of these like big titles and just buying them all. It was crazy. So I showed it to the guys backstage. This was one of the books. I don't know. It started at FF20, but he had this one for some reason. And this is FF3. And so the reason why I'm actually bringing this is because Mr. Longbox has been a Fantastic Four apologist for the last 2 years to me. And I like FF, don't get me wrong. But I've never appreciated FF for what they are. And so this book to me has been one that I've always wanted since being converted by Mr. Longbox. I think this just perfectly sums up. Rohan and I were talking about it just the other night. Like, FF1 is probably like the most important comic book in Silver Age, probably history.
I would say, yeah, Marvel history, period.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would actually put this like pretty close to it. I think this book really sets the tone for the FF. FF1 obviously introduces them, and then this just sets the tone as far as like what they were going to be. The retrofuturism that they got going on, their suits, the hover car over Manhattan, like it's incredible. I think it's a fantastic book. So I'm gonna hold on to this one for a little bit so that I can say that I've owned it for some time, and then probably when the hype goes up for the movie, that's when I'll logically I'll have to let it go at that point. But I'm gonna hold on to it for as long as I can. So,
hey, if you need anybody to house it for you, let me know.
I just rewatched Deadpool and Wolverine, and I didn't even notice the first time seeing it because I only saw it once with my wife in the theater. That the Fantastic Car is in the void.
Oh,
that they're rolling around on it, and I was like, "Oh, that's sweet."
Yeah, and
and it looks like that one too. It looks like that Fantastic Car.
So cool.
Yeah, and this is my theory, or rather my like projection of what I would like to happen with the MCU is if when Secret Wars comes and they do like a full reset, I would love if they just kind of like wiped everything clean, and then it was just like FF in the 60s, and you just like go and you start the new MCU where like Marvel Comics started. And as far as we know, the only heroes in the world would be the FF, and then you can grow the universe from there. I think that would be a super cool.
Yeah, and with that in mind, like I'm all in. Like I would love for them to just like kind of Iron Man was like what's the name of the tentpole character throughout the like whatever that term is. I think Mr. Fantastic would be great for that role.
Yeah,
moving forward, like you're saying.
Yeah, totally agree.
Your theory or your plot for Spider-Man and a Daredevil team up on your podcast was, I was like trying not to yell because kids were sleeping in the dorm I'm working in, and I'm like, make this movie.
That's totally right.
Yeah, Mr. Logwax and I will probably finish our pitches like during Thanksgiving break when he's cooled off of work a little bit, and then we'll probably do that episode of like revisiting sometime in early December. So
yes,
yeah.
But I mean, okay. Josh, I think it's important to like you said, like because how like take for example, like when the X-Men come in, and I'm this is not my original idea. I know people have said this. Like again, part of the lore of the X-Men is they're new, they're mutants, their people are like scared of them. But like if they just come into the MCU now, it's like there's already an established hierarchy of superheroes and things like that. It's not as like they're not as different, So it's like to incorporate them well, you kind of do need to do some kind of restart.
Yeah,
that's like a great point. Yeah.
Okay, this next book we're kicking it to modern. Actually, these next couple books we're kicking it to modern. I found this on eBay recently, and I could not believe the price that it was going for. This is Punisher versus Daredevil 1. This is a reprinting of Daredevil 183, 184, and 257. And this is signed by Charlie Cox, John Bernthal, and Frank Miller. So signed by the two most popular actors for Daredevil and Punisher. And then, of course, the one who popularized them the most, Frank Miller. So I couldn't believe the price that I got this for. I was like looking at it and I was like, surely this isn't real. Like there's no way you can have a book signed by the three of them. So I was like, okay, either I'm like way overvaluing their signatures or like something's up here. So what I ended up doing is I did like a full like research, and I was like, okay, if I were to get this book signed today, how much would it cost me? And so like I went down like this research of figuring out, okay, like where's Bernthal going to be at next? Where's Charlie Cox going to be at next? Where's Frank Miller going to be? And after doing all of that, it was like $400 or like $300 more than the price of this book. And so I was like, yeah, that's an easy grab.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of my favorite books in my collection. I'm a huge Daredevil fan. I love
the
cover
too.
Show.
Yeah, the cover.
I love I thought I would have had it back today, but when I was at Terrificon, I met Charlie Cox and had him sign. I bought Daredevil 500 from '98 in the Gabriel Dell'Otto variant, and I had him sign it, and it just got shipped back to me. And I found out today it's a 9.8. And
look at that!
I lucked out, and I didn't even care again about the grade. It was about the same as the rights and signature for for Bob. It's just like owning that with the sig. Like that's all I cared about. But when I called to see about shipping, because it's been like 3 months and I know they're backed up, and they're like, "Oh, actually, we got it back. It's a 9.8," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." But I wanted to show that off tonight because Charlie Cox was just such a sweetheart, and I think there's no one I've met or talked to that's like, "Oh, he wasn't a good Daredevil." He's like our Daredevil. Like he is.
Yeah.
He's done
Totally. That's a great book.
Yeah, I love him. He's
Congrats.
great. He was at,
Thank you, Bob.
I didn't go to this past New York Comic Con, but I went in 2023, and he was there, but he was there cosplayed as Bluey. And so he was
That's
just like
sick.
walking the con floor. Yeah, I guess his kids love Bluey, so he just cosplayed as Bluey and then walked the con floor. And then like I saw it on Twitter, like people were like taking pictures from like a distance, and they were like, "Is this Charlie Cox?" And then eventually like somebody went up.
Imagine how
got a
hilarious it
pic.
would have been if he did a signing photo op session, but like you got Charlie Cox, but it was Charlie Cox's Bluey in your photo.
My kids would love that because they
Yeah.
love Bluey. They'd be like, "Ah, it's Bluey."
Yeah, convention exclusive. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, this next book, still modern, another signed book. This is David Nakayama variant of Strange Academy 6, and this is signed by Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, I showed you showed that book on your show. It's so good.
Yeah, I showed this one. This I think might have been the first show and tell on our show that I did. They announced on Instagram, it was like a year and a half ago maybe, that she was doing a signing with them, and it cost a lot, but I was like, I have to do it. And so I picked out the best Scarlet Witch cover that I had that I wanted to get signed, and the one that I think had the best shot at getting a 9.8, and it was this one. And
So you met Elizabeth Olsen?
No, I sent it into CGC.
Oh, you sent it for the signing. Okay.
Yeah, but it was like it was kind of scary because the time that I had to send it in, I was leaving for the Philippines, and so I had to have the person that was house sitting take the book to USPS for me, and it's not that big of a deal, but I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that they can get a mile down the road and back. So yeah.
Joshua, are you going to get the Gal Gadot signature on a Wonder Woman?
No, I don't have that many Wonder Woman colors or covers.
All right.
Yeah. All right. These next two books, these are my personal grails. If I were to just sell my entire collection, I wouldn't sell these. So this first one, this is the first like big grail I've ever bought. It took selling my 9.8 Hulk 340. What else did I sell? That was just probably the biggest book. Oh, my Invincible 192 and a handful of other books. And so I sold those and was able to grab me this Daredevil 150 off-white pages. Man, the lighting is really making the cover look sharp. I think
It looks great from here. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Wow.
I think you had a video where you got that, right? Where you
yeah, that was
made
actually at New York Comic Con. Where coincidentally Charlie Cox was too. Yeah, the seller, he kind of had like this booth tucked in a corner, and he had this book Raw, and I was either gonna buy this book or FF5 at that con. Like that's kind of what I was hunting for, and I asked him to see the book, and I think he had the book priced at like, I don't remember what it was, 45 or something like that. And without me having to negotiate anything at all, he came down $1,000. And I didn't have to say a word. So it was the easiest negotiating I'd ever done in my life. I just held the book, and I kid you not, when I say I didn't say a word, I literally mean I didn't say anything. Like, he handed me the book, I looked at it, he goes, "Oh, I can do better, I can do this price." And I just like nodded my head, and I kept looking at it, and in like a couple minutes of silence of me looking at the book, he goes, "Okay, actually I can do this price." Just nodded. I said, "Thank you." And then again, like still looking at the book, and then he drops it down again, and it was a full $1,000 by the time we got to the end of it. And I was like, I was like, okay, how low is this guy gonna go? Like, so at that point, I'm kind of gambling.
At that point, you're too like, shut up, don't say anything.
So at that point, I was like, all right, like, let me think about it and walk away. And I think he dropped it a little bit more after that. And then I walked away, and I came back like 10, 15 minutes later, and he still had the same price. And then I asked him if he would go lower, and he was like, "No, that's my bottom." And I was like, "All right, I'll do it." So
The old smile and nod technique.
That's great.
Yeah, and I've seen you negotiate too at Spro. You're very savvy at these cons, and so like for something like that to fall in your lap, it had to feel good to just be like, ah, that was easy.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice when you don't. It's like it's intimidating to go up and negotiate, but like I know most of the time, like these guys, I'd say like 50% of the time they'll work with you. Other times they'll scoff at you, which is fine too. But it can be intimidating because you don't want to get scoffed at, and you don't want to make a dealer feel like you're lowballing them. But I've just like learned to totally overcome that, because if these guys are gonna have the stones to overprice their books, then you know what? I'm gonna feel fine coming to you and offering you a fair market value price. And if you think that's lowballing, that's on you. That's not on me. So,
Amen.
Yeah, this book, love it. I bought it when I was talking with the guy. We thought it was like a 4.0. So the fact that this came back a 5 was pretty good. So.
Did you clean and press that yourself? Because I know you do it.
No, I was too scared. There's another YouTuber and I think I got a little bit of whitening done on it. Oh no, he didn't do whitening on this one. He did it on my ASM 129. But I sent him like a handful of like big books. Now I would be confident to do that. I mean, I pressed that Avengers one that I got back, and that was the scariest press of my life.
Was the Avengers one? Was that press after your ASM 50?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's why I didn't press the Daredevil one, is because I was probably thinking about that the whole time, and I was just like, I'm not going through that again. And so thankfully that Avengers didn't need any like type of erasing. Like it was just kind of like generally dirty, and like an erasing wasn't gonna like help it that much. So I just pressed it and put it away. But that 12 hours of just sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like are the staples even still intact? Like did I have it too high? Like every just worst case scenario that is totally like unreasonable. I was just like, yeah, the book's on fire under there 100%. Like there's no way it's not. So yeah. All right, my last book, my most recent Grail pickup that I only spent $200 for is FF5. So
there we go.
It was
2 in one night.
And books. Yeah. And so there's an awesome seller on Instagram that I've become pretty good friends with, and chatting about books and stuff like that. And he had this book on his claim sale, and he had it for a price. And when I saw him list it, I was like, oh, I think I could actually like offer him a pretty reasonable trade with some books that I have. But I wasn't going to offer him the trade like while he was like doing his live sale. I was like, if he sells it, fine, like let him get his cash. Like I'm not going to beat myself up about that. But if he doesn't sell it by the end of the live sale, then I'm going to beat myself up if I don't message him and ask him about it. So I think, I messaged him after, and he was like, yeah, show me what you got. So I sent to him was a 7.0 Marvel Spotlight 5, a 7.0 Marvel Spotlight 6, a 9.6 Ultimate Fallout 4, a 9.6 Edge of Spider-Verse 2, and a 8.0. I forget the number.
Wasn't it NYX or something? I think.
Oh yeah, a 9.6 Nyx 3, and then first Ra's al Ghul. I don't remember what number.
Batman 232.
Yeah, Batman 232, and yeah, he said yeah, and I don't know. He was like just like $200 or $100 cash on top, something like that.
Again, you won. Modern books.
I told him when he did that, it's like most people won't trade. Like if it's you get Silver Age, you got to trade Silver Age, right? Or bronze. Yeah. Like the fact that you were able to do mostly modern, and obviously you had a couple big bronze books there, but to go into the silver, like that's an absolute win.
Yeah, it's funny. In the video, I've had people comment because I made the video. Like I also like interviewed him when we traded, and I uploaded the video, and everybody like was, or not everybody, but a handful of people were commenting like, I would never trade those books for that. And I'm like, how could you not? I didn't trade a single Silver Age book, and I got a top 5, top 10 Marvel book. Like that, that's insane. Like even if the price doesn't balance out like in this current market, long term, this book is going to come out on top over the rest.
Yeah, and those books you traded, you're going to be able to get whenever you want at any day of the week. You just open up your phone and you could find those books.
That's like a perfect trade because it's a win for both parties, because the seller, has to find the right buyer for the FF5 because it's a high dollar book, right? But if he wants to move books, now he's got 7 or 8 modern or Bronze Age that he knows they're all going to go in his next claim sale. So he's got his cash out of it. And you got the book you wanted. That's perfect. Like everybody should win in these transactions.
And I think Bob, you bring up a good point too, because I've done a lot of trading just like this that Josh has done, and people will talk to me. It's like, oh, I can never get any trades done, and it's exactly that reason is because you think it's just a value to value thing. Like, no, it's more than that. It has also the type of book. Like, if you're going to trade with a dealer, you've got to give him something that he can move. He doesn't need stuff that's just going to sit there, right? So it's like if you want a liquid book, you have to trade liquid books for it, as hard as that may be of letting go of something that like a Marvel Spotlight 5. But that's what it takes. Like you have to make decisions and prioritize what's more important to you.
And you're so right, Bob. Go ahead.
Hey, I don't want to interrupt someone that's about to tell me how right I was. So go ahead.
I was just saying, you're so right, Bob, because the FF5, you got to find the right buyer, right? And those books that Joshua all named off, you're right. And Rohan's right. The next claim sale, they're going to fly off the rack because someone's more apt to buy a $250 book as an impulse buy than a five. Now we do get those claim sales, and I do see 5,000 plus, buys in there, but you're going to move those 250 books all day.
Well, the first trade I pulled off as a youngster was again, I'm a youngster. I was a college freshman, sophomore. I don't know, but I had collected a bunch of McFarlane Spider-Mans, and now I know they have a lot of value now. But this is the '90s, and they were just starting to get hot. But I picked them up at the very beginning of it, so I got them for like a couple bucks each. They were still in the short boxes at the comic shop. So I picked up $298, $299, $300, multiple copies. And then I went back home and I traded. In retrospect, I probably should have kept one of each, but I traded them all for just a boatload of high grade Silver Age stuff, Iron Man 1, stuff like that. That worked out well for me. And he turned those things around and sold them. And I wouldn't mind having a Spider-Man 300. I wouldn't mind having kept one, but it was still the right deal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, when I made the trade, it was like perfect timing because he was an elite seller, and so I think at Con was like a week away, and so I was like, okay, if I can give him like volume, like I think he'll take it, and so he did, and I think he sold in that at Con live sale. I think he sold like half of what I gave him, so it worked out for him as far as I know. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, I'm up, and I got some different books than I would usually show. I'm not getting that much in. I'm just not. I'm kind of saving for stuff, and I've got books at my cleaner and pressers that I want to get graded. But so I'm going to go modern too. This was gifted to me, and then I read it and loved it. And Justin from No Good Comics and I are going to do a breakdown on this series as it comes out. But this is Aliens vs. Avengers #1. And it's a Scotty Young cover. I love Scotty Young. I love his like very Calvin and Hobbes-esque style that I grew up with, and I'm attracted to it. But spoilers for anyone in the chat, I'm just going to say it. This is great. It starts off, I forgot the alien race that is like basically just sending xenomorph eggs all over the galaxy to just try to get these ultimate weapons out there. And T'Challa approaches the ship, and they're actually androids. So T'Challa goes there, and they've already found out they've released eggs all over, including Earth, and they've taken out a ton of people. And by the end, the Bruce Banner's in it. The Hulk shows up, and what's Reed Richards' daughter's name? Valeria, in the modern comics.
Yeah, I think that's right.
She gets face hugged and killed, and they think they aren't going to make it. And Miles Morales, this face hugger, attaches to him. And then they think he's dead. They're like, oh, there's no helping them. They can't get a face hugger off. And then all of a sudden you see the symbiote is attached to the face hugger. And it's like, I don't like this body, but I guess it'll do for now. So now Miles Morales' suit is instead of a spider, it's a face hugger on his suit. And the symbiote actually trumps a xenomorph. So now they're playing into, how he's going to be able to balance that out. And they haven't shown Thor and Vision. I ordered the second copy that's coming from eBay. There's only 2 issues out. The third one comes out in February, and the fourth one comes out preceding that. But it was a really cool, again, I talk about seeing these properties as a kid, being an Aliens fan and an Avengers fan, like seeing these universes come together to me, I was like, oh man, that's
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So it was a really fun, good story. I can't wait to read the next one. And yeah,
So
when I
Jonathan
saw
Hickman, right?
it is Hickman, absolutely. And it's written beautifully. And to see this Miles Morales with this face hugger on his, I knew John Malone would like it. He's an Aliens fan. On his costume, it's all white and the face hugger is black. I was like, wow, that is badass looking. So that's my first book. My second book is a Copper Age book, and I'm a huge Fin Fang Foom fan. And this is a really important book to understand Fin Fang Foom. So it's Iron Man 274 from 1991, I believe, or 4, I can't remember. But this goes into the origin of where Fin Fang Foom. So when you see Fin Fang Foom in Strange Tales, I'm actually doing a deep dive video on it for next week. He's just referred to as an ancient Chinese dragon that's slumbering, and the communists are invading Taiwan. And there's two brothers, and one's in the military, and the father respects him, and the other one's a scientist, and the father doesn't. And he hears about Fin Fang Foom, and he goes and awakens him with an herb, and Fin Fang Foom comes out, destroys the whole communist battalion invading Taiwan, and then he gets put back to sleep. Well, it's in this issue as a flashback that you learn about the dragons being from Kakaranthara is the name of the planet in the Maklu 4 galaxy. And they actually were a very brilliant, peaceful race, focused on the arts. They had just evolved so much, but some of the dragons really, they what's the word I'm looking for? They really wanted to war. They wanted action. They were bored. They basically became bored. And so a bunch of them set out to the most, warring planet, which was Earth, that they could find. And their ship crashes there. And when they come out, a couple of them get killed because humans, are going to kill a dragon thing, and they learn to shapeshift down to be humans. And then they're like, oh, we're going to learn how to be humans first before we conquer their species. But Fin Fang Foom was the navigator, and they left him in a catatonic state back at that ship. And that ship is where the Mandarin ultimately gets his 10 rings of power from, which Rohan will tell you. We were robbed of the right Mandarin in the MCU. They went total.
Pisses me off.
I thought they were going to show Ben Kingsley, an Oscar-winning actor, going to this valley and finding the rings. But yeah, so if anyone out there who wants to read more about Fin Fang Foom, this the Dragon Seed whole storyline or saga is a great way to learn more about Fin Fang Foom. And it's great. Paul Ryan and Bob Wycheck are the artists on this, and John Byrne wrote it. So it's just a great book.
I didn't know any of that stuff, Brandon. That's really cool. I'm gonna pick that book up.
It's really sweet to read his history. See other dragons on this planet. It really looks like the Silver Age pre-hero Marvel monster panels when they're showing it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm a big fan of it. Joshua's a big fan of Daredevil. Oh, go ahead, Joshua.
I was just gonna say, so before, or by nature of asking this question, it's a little bit of a spoiler. So if there's anybody in chat that this is a spoiler for, I'm sorry. But Brandon, have you played the Guardians of the Galaxy video game?
No, but in doing my research for Fin Fang Foom, I guess getting to fight him is pretty awesome.
Yeah. That game in general, I think, is one of the most underrated games of the last few years. I think just because I don't even know why it's underrated, but it was on sale and I decided to play it. And it's one of the most fun games I've ever played. Like, they bring the music in, and when you're doing fighting sequences, the way that they have you kind of rotate between all of the different heroes of the Guardians of the Galaxy is so much fun. And then your ultimate, pretty much loud music starts playing and you just become OP, and it's crazy fun. Adam Warlock, it just feels like justice was done compared to the Adam Warlock of the MCU.
Agreed.
Yeah, the Fin Fang Foom was just so much fun.
It was terrible.
Now, the music they play, is it just generic rock tracks, or did they get licensing for any classic rock music like they've used in the movies?
Yeah, they got licensing. Yeah, there's great music. Yeah, so if you have a gaming console, I think PC has it too. It is probably one of my most underrated games for sure. It's such a heartfelt story too. I almost cried near the end of it. It was so good.
Oh my God, I'm in.
I know Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is one of the better movies of the MCU. This game blows the movie out of the water. Like, in every sense, I truly mean that. It blows all three of those movies out of the water. It's great. It's a wonderful game. I highly recommend it.
I always bring a pad and paper to write down books I want to buy the people's show, but now I just wrote down a video game. My wife's gonna be like, "Why are you gaming?" I'm like, "They told me it was the best." I'll definitely get into that. The next book I want to show, because I am a huge Daredevil fan too, but I went more modern because I wanted to read about this character before he came to the big screen. But this is Daredevil issue number 11, and it's the first appearance of Muse. So great Ron Garney art. I actually got to meet him at Terrificon. He was a really awesome guy. And I read this book recently, and Muse is a messed up person. And if they do him right in the show, it's gonna be awesome. And so I had to pick up this book before.
Things we've seen in the MCU.
I think so. I mean, anyone in the chat, if you're not familiar with this, the first crime scene he leaves behind is a mural painted with the blood of 112 missing people. And that's their first. Yeah. So like he's crazy, and his one of his superhuman abilities is imperceptibility. So it's going to be very hard for Daredevil to locate where he is. But I just love this cover. I'm not a huge modern guy, but for a Daredevil key for a show that's coming out before it gets, and I will if I see the cover, I love it. It's awesome how they did
gorgeous.
That. Did you read the whole series or the whole Muse run?
I have not yet, Joshua, because I know I'm jumping in the middle of it. So now I've got to order the other ones.
Oh, so you just read 11?
I just read this one and I was messed up.
Yeah, that is only the beginning. Like the next couple like crime scenes, I don't know what or how they're gonna do in the MCU, but there's one in particular that's like, you have to be a sick person to even come up with this. Like it's crazy.
Oh boy, I love it. Bring it on.
You'll get there. When you get there, message me. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Hold me.
It's nice to buy, again, like how kind of JP was saying earlier, save for the bigger books you want, but to buy some modern books that aren't that expensive and get some good, readability out of it, and also just to compare how they're going to do the MCU show, how that's going to translate. I'm interested in that. This next book is pretty special because Bob and Spro were with me when I got it.
I know what it is. This is awesome.
It was the first week of it was the weekend of AtCon. It was a Saturday, and I knew I wanted to watch this live sale because they said they were going to have this book. And then I saw that Spro and Bob were doing a live stream watching it too. And so this book came up, and I think Bob wanted a higher grade copy, and he wanted it slabbed. Was that what took you out of the running for this one?
Yeah, I was holding out for something higher, but I still don't have. So
So this book goes up, and they're asking $225, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty fair price. They estimate it to be a 4.0. Cover looks great. Big first appearance of Mephisto right on the cover. John Buscema goodness. And I actually, my last video, I got into this book and showed the splash pages, and they are just awesome. Yeah. And so I think I put out an offer of $175, and then someone put $210, and I was like, oh, it's going to get out of control. So I sniped myself and just said $225.
You got nominated for Snipe of the Con on that one. You were one of the 3 nominations for the top snipe in the Post Awards for that.
I'm really?
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm honored. I was like, I'm not going to lose that. I thought it was a very fair price, and this book's come down considerably too from the comic book. It's a beautiful book. Yeah, I mean, so it was funny, and like it was just so fun to watch another YouTubers watching them, figuring out what books they want to go after, and then this one came up, and I was like, I'm going for it, fellas. We're getting in on it, and so because it just shows how fun. It just shows what fun this community can be, even when a bunch of people are watching a live sale and cheering each other on.
Dude, that was so much fun. We were cheering you on, like, Brandon, dude, hurry up! Someone's bidding 200. You got to snipe it. We're yelling. That experience just took over the whole live stream, and it was one of the highlights of the night. It was so much fun. See, it was what you wanted.
It was. This will always be special to me for that, and like it was. From Tasty Cat Comics, that's who's having the sale, because I really like how they do like the stamp on their board and give all their info. But yeah, like I knew it was going to get real when I offered $175, definitely a lower offer, low ball, and it went right to $210. I was like, shit, I'm not missing this. And I was like, whatever, you got me. And no, great experience to those guys buying. I would definitely shop from them again. So I had to bring that book tonight because it was just fun that Spro and Bob were there in some capacity.
I'm really glad you did because that was a cool moment, and seeing that book in your hands just makes you remember it. And it's a gorgeous looking copy, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. Last book. This isn't much. I think I got it for like less than $100. I had to bring a slab, but it means a lot to me because my dad and I were big Predator fans. He got me into the Predator. And I remember going to the comic store with him and seeing this on the rack, and it blew my little kid mind because it was the first time I'd seen two different properties intersecting to fight. And it's Batman versus Predator, number one in the 3-issue series. And I remember as a kid, I bought all 3 of the issues as they came out. You know, in the first issue, it's just kind of Batman trying to figure out the Predator, and he sees him at the end, and they get into a little tussle, but nothing big. The second issue, Predator almost kills Batman, puts him on his deathbed. And in the third issue, the only way he can beat the Predators, he has to come out with this super suit. It's the only way he stands a chance to beat the Predator, and he does. I got this off the Fantast website, the collection that came out of Michigan. Rohan has actually interviewed Darren, the owner of that collection, whose father left it to him. I knew I wanted to get a book from that collection with their label because I love the history of comics, and this is definitely like a collection that's a part of history now. It's not pedigree, but they gave them their own label. And Provenance, yes. So a 98, 9.8 white pages. I just thought it was cool to pick it up. My dad would think it was cool that I got this, and the back cover is great too because it's got the Predator just about to kill Batman.
Wow!
So as a kid, this blew my mind that you could have 2 different, a character's like a comic character and a movie character going at it. And so yeah, I think it was like $100 or less than 100. So for the nostalgia alone, like I don't care. Like I'm never selling it.
That's a steal, man. Beautiful.
So yeah, I've sent some other people that website. The Fantast website is a really great, clean, organized website. Wow.
I think, Mr. Longbox has a Fantast book, don't you?
Yeah. First Silver Age Catwoman. So Lois Lane was it 70? I think I can't. But yeah. But I sent it in to get slabbed. So, but I didn't know what I was supposed to do to get the Fantast label. I had the COA from I bought it from Harvey Yee's Comics at a convention. So I still have that certificate, but I sent it in without it, and so it just came back in a regular label. But I have that thing with it, so I don't really know what. I don't know if I messed that up. Or
That's tough. I went to a couple of his live sales when Rage Theo and someone else were doing his live sales, and I bought books, and I just wanted the COA to say that it came from that collection. I had full intentions of buying a slab with the label at some point, but they were like short on them, and then they were also worried about, people swapping out books and doing shenanigans with them, which I get, So when I finally went to the website and saw, started Peru, they got quite a selection on there now. So I got that, and I got Daredevil number 9 and an 8.5. It's my highest graded Silver Age book. And I was like, I'm going to splurge, you go down the row, and it's a great Wally Wood cover, but they have a lot of, and I've sent a few people there, and it was Phil, One True Nerd King. They have a lot of great stuff on there, but
is that the Daredevil where he's up against the wall, with his tooth, with the batons in his hand? And
no, it's the one with it's got it's one of the worst. The first appearance of the Organizer. Who cares about? We've always talked about Daredevil's poor rogues gallery. It really works against him.
Purple Man and Stilt Man.
Yeah, exactly. But Wally Wood, I love Wally Wood as an artist from the Golden Age.
That Stilt Man cover's sick, though. I see it behind.
I like it. Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, it was my goal I wanted Daredevil 1 through 10, which I accomplished this year. I think I want them all slabbed. And then I think I'm just going to go for the Daredevil. After that, the Daredevil run is pretty affordable, And so, Elektra's not bad. First Elektra. There's some bigger ones up there. First Silver Samurai is not even that bad. So that's a really affordable, great Silver Age run. And then you go into Miller's run, which is iconic.
That first time that Black Widow appears, with Daredevil, because then it becomes for a time they share the title they share the trade dress, right? But there's that first time that she's there. I think that's a sleeper book. I think that book's undervalued and underrated because Daredevil Black Widow had a real pairing for a long time, and people just kind of overlooked that book. I don't know why. So make that one of the first ones you get before it goes up, because I would put that on the sleeper list for sure.
I love it, Bob. I love your speculation on it. Fellas, that was an amazing round of books we showed tonight. I got to see 2 FF5s in one stream.
Yeah,
and
light work.
Light work.
Yeah. So what I like to do at the end of the show, I like to have everyone go around and say what's going on their channels. But since it's kind of like a creative team tonight, I'm going to have Rohan tell me what's coming up with the Absolute Game of Nerds. What's going on with your channel, man? What's coming up?
We've got Justin, who was in the chat earlier. No good. His episode drops on Monday. Bob, I was gonna say, I want to reach out to you. We got to get you on to hear your full story. And then, like I said, I think JP and I are going to try out a little debate format up here pretty soon come the holidays. So, yeah, stay tuned.
That's awesome. All right. And so I'm going to tell the chat before I bring these guys on here. Let's see how I can organize. I only live stream once a month, guys. So I'm going to take me and Rohan off the screen. Guys, before I'm coming off too with you, Rohan, don't worry. Before you leave the stream, I need you to go check out both Rohan and JP's and Spro's and Mr. Longbox's channel. They are 2 of the best shows out there right now, in my opinion, as far as interviewing and as far as podcasting and really having a passion for the hobby. And you're going to have a fun time listening to them talk, whether you're listening to their podcast or, I mean, when I listen to JP and Rohan, I just put the phone in my pocket and just listen to them through YouTube. But Josh and Bob, what's on the horizon for you? I want to hear everything.
I mean, as far as the podcast goes, honestly, we don't plan out crazy. Like, we just shoot the crap. Like, that's pretty much it. We're actually about to go. After this, we're going to eat dinner, and then we're going to go record Monday's episode. So we stacked the night with podcasts. So this coming Monday, we're going to be doing hot takes. So top 3, top 5, whatever we have time to fit in. We're going to be doing our best comic book / comic book movie hot takes. Also talking some news. There's a lot of FF news this week. So the news portion of the podcast is always fun for me because we don't talk about it much, but Mr. Longbox is incredibly busy. So the fact that he finds time to record every single week means a lot to me. And yeah, I should you got to know, like, I'm not going to like out him in all his work and what he does, but it's unrealistically busy what he's got to accomplish at work. So the fact that he makes time means a lot. So part of that makes it really fun is he doesn't get to scroll Twitter, and like I do, I can just sit Twitter and twiddle my thumbs and doom scroll all day. So he doesn't catch news. So one of the highlights of just every podcast is just like giving him a news update. So there's a lot of good news, FF news. There was even some news that dropped while we were recording. That's how tuned in I am to get the news. So can't wait to do that. And then aside from the podcast, just on my channel, I have a video coming out kind of documenting a little bit of my process of kind of opening this and starting this journey dealing and getting my office space and just building it all out. So that video I'm hoping will come out next week sometime. And then after that, I have another interview that I recorded with a LCS owner who lives in a city that has seen 3 or 4 other comic shops die, and he's pretty much the last one standing. So I got to pick his brain a little bit. And that video was supposed to come out a lot sooner, except I got the whole office space, and so that kind of set me back like a whole month. So I didn't have time to come around to editing that. But yeah, that's everything on our end, or my end.
Your last LCS interview did really well too. That performed very well. Was the oldest comic shop in New York? Was that what it was? Or
yeah. So I'd filmed that quite a while ago. But I love Gus. Gus is such a great dude. His shop, my favorite shop. I love his claim sales. And he's like, just talking with him like in person, he was just such like a good dude. Like he was so shy. Like it was like it's kind of adorable, like how shy he was to like be recorded, and yeah, I thought he had a lot of really wise things to say, and I was honestly most intrigued by, again, like surviving in being a professional in this industry, whether it's like writing or arts or as an LCS owner. Like it's hard. It's not an easy thing, and we see a lot of LCSs go under. And so for him, like people were getting on me in the comments because I kind of had to clickbait the title a little bit, but he is the longest tenured owner in New York. There's shops that are older than his, but they're under new management, and so I would call that a reset. He, as far as I know, and as far as the research tells me, is that he is the longest standing owner without having sold his shop. So it's him surviving through the housing crisis, 9/11, being in New York, COVID. It's just crazy that he pulled through. And just the biggest piece of advice that he had is, as I asked him, I was like, how do you stay open? Like just all of these things going on in an industry that is so volatile. How do you do it? And he just like kind of shrugged his shoulders, and he's like, you just keep reinvesting in yourself. And I think that's true for anything, man. If you believe in yourself, you put in the effort and the work into what you want to achieve, you can achieve it. And I think he's proof of that. So I love that little nugget of wisdom, just reinvesting into yourself constantly.
That's awesome. And I had a question about it because you are becoming a dealer. You're selling. You got your website up. Do you plan on doing Instagram live sales?
Yeah. So, hopefully in the next coming weeks, I'm talking with one of the bigger Instagram consignment sales. So I want to be, getting in front of their audience. So my plan for now is as long as that opportunity is still there, and as long as that IG seller and myself are enjoying working together, then I'll do sales with them, and then I'll also be doing. I'll try to do one a month where it's just me. But I have I got a big collection, and I need to start moving stuff. So the last like 2 weeks I've just been like grading and bagging and boarding and just all the dirty work.
Well,
Yep.
I will be at those sales. I've listened again, and probably you guys. I'm like Misery. I'm your number one fan, and I just love like your whole take on it. How you're going to do it. You're going to use Mylars with double board backing to make sure the book's sturdy. You have integrity, and you have a passion for the hobby and how you want to see things done. So it's going to be really fun to have you selling books to me, because I'm going to be buying from you. So everyone in the
if you or if anybody, I've seen a couple, like even what Jab just said, and I've seen a couple of other people show interest. I don't have everything like fully functioning and running yet. I need to get like the back end like organized so that it's just easier for me to visualize, so that when I do put everything on the website, I'm not like confused as to like where I'm going or where I'm grabbing things. So once I get all that organized, then it'll be on the website. But if you're in the chat and you're interested, if there's something you're looking for, like just DM me on Instagram, and I can just pull it out and work with you, and that'll be a lot easier. So I'll offer that to M.O.N's community right here, right now. If there's anything you're interested in, just shoot me a DM, and I'll let you know if I have it. Like I said, some titles I got, like Silver Surfer 2 through the end, ASM 16 through 120, FF 20 through 115-ish, Tales to Astonish, a lot of the later run, Strange Tales, like from like 125, kind of scattered, but a lot in there.
You got a lot of DC horror.
Yes, some DC horror, a couple Batman, like Silver Age, Two-Face, and the horror, House of Mystery and House of Secrets. So I think for the House of Secrets starts at like 71 or 72 and goes through 93.
Now I'm definitely going to be finding you. But that's a great segue into everyone in the chat or anyone watching the replay. I've linked every one of these guys' socials down below, their YouTube, their Instagram, as well as Joshua's website, which is still under construction, but you can go there and get an idea of what he's going to do. And guys, thanks for coming. I appreciate you guys giving me your time. Rohan bounced because he's trying to go watch the fights before Tyson.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you. It's been such an honor to have you guys on because, like I said, I listen to you guys every freaking week on Monday or Tuesday, and I love what you're doing. So, guys, thanks for coming on.
Thanks
chat.
for having us, man.
Oh God, my pleasure. Let's do this again sometime.
Thanks so much for having
us. It's been months in the making, but I'm glad.
I know. Bob's busy, and I know you're busy with like the 17 things you have your irons in the fire, and I've got 2 kids and a family. So like, it can be tough to line these up, but I will keep, I will keep reaching out to people, and because it's just fun. I just love doing this.
It's an honor, Brandon. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure's all on this side of the table. So thank you guys. Thank you, chat. Everyone, have fun. Go, Mike Tyson. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.